Look, life is a game, and the sooner you understand that, the better. Because whether you realize it or not, everybody around you is playing a game. So the question is, are you? I used to always think that things were, fair. You work hard, you follow the rules, and you will get rewarded. But that's not exactly how it works. You see, the people at the top, they're bending the rules every day in their favor and making sure that you stay right where you are, completely clueless. I noticed this when I worked for a company a couple of years ago, and we had a CFO, and he would always wait until the end of the year and he would start firing people left and right. He would slash salary raises. He would get rid of bonuses. And we're like, why does he always do this at the end of the year? The reason is simple, because he get rewarded if the company hits a certain profit number every year. So he would look at the numbers in like December and be like, okay, I'm not going to hit my profit number. Let's get rid of some people. Let's cut some expenses. He doesn't really care if you're overworked. He doesn't care if he fires half the company and now you got to do the work of 3 people. He doesn't care if you worked hard the whole year and don't get a bonus. He doesn't care if you don't get a salary raise. What he cares about is his bonus. So once I realized that that's how he operates, I was just like, okay, well, listen, he's playing the game. I'm not, He's doing what he's supposed to do. I can't even get mad at it. That's how the corporate game works. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about hitting their numbers and doing what benefits them. Also remember that all these companies have shareholders and boards and stockholders that they got to make sure that they're happy. It's not about making their employees happy. Companies do not exist to make you happy. Companies exist to make money. On the other side of things, you have government-run businesses. A perfect example of this is a company that I always complain about, the USPS. Have you ever wondered why they're so bad at what they do? The reason is because they have zero incentive to do better. Private companies, let's take FedEx for example. If they don't do a good job, then we're not going to go there to get our stuff shipped. That means they lose money. Eventually, they will go bankrupt. They have an incentive to do a good job, good customer service, being friendly to you. They want to make sure you come back because if they don't make money, they go under. But if you're a government-run business like the USPS, it doesn't really matter if you don't come back because they're funded by taxpayer money. Yes, they charge you for things, but all their services are subsidized. It's cheap because it's subsidized by taxpayer money. So if you go there and they give you attitude and they scream at you and you're waiting 2 hours in line for something and they lose your package, they don't really care. So what if you don't come back? Like, they're good. Nothing's ever going to happen. They're not going to go under. They're just going to keep getting more and more taxpayer money. And this is the problem when there's no competition. Like, a lot of people want to complain about capitalism, but capitalism works because it forces you to compete. If you don't have to compete with anyone, you're not going to want to do a good job. Then everybody suffers. And this is true not just for the USPS, but a lot of government-run agencies. When there's no competition, there's no accountability. So there's no reason to improve or do a good job. Now let's talk about subscription. You ever signed up for anything thinking that I'm going to use this and then you forget about it, but you keep paying? That's the whole business model of subscription-based companies. Gyms, for example, they don't actually want you to come and work out. What they're hoping for is you to pay and then forget about it and never come. I read this article about Planet Fitness that had to rethink their entire business model because Gen Z is actually going to the gym every day. Them charging you $20, $30 a month for you to use their facilities is not profitable anymore. There's too many people coming to the gym. They're relying on 80% of their members not coming to the gym. That's how they make money. Same with all these streaming services, apps, and all these things that you're using. Yes, sure, you can use their services, but they're hoping that you're just going to forget about them and keep paying and never use them. And when it comes to credit card companies, people always assume you can't go into debt because, the credit card companies, they don't like it and they're going to ding your credit score. Let me tell you something. Credit card companies make money from you swiping and buying. They get 1 to 3% of the purchase price. That's how they make their money. But their bread and butter, how they really make money, is interest and late fees. You see, they want you to go into debt. Think about it. Have you ever seen an offer where they say, we're going to give you 100,000 points if you spend $5,000 in 3 months? They don't want to give you the points. What they want is for you to say, oh my God, I got to spend 5,000 in 3 months. Let me just spend. And then you overspend and now you can't pay the $5,000 back. Now you're in debt. Also, what these credit card companies say is that if you don't pay back the balance that you owe, we're not going to give you the points. The balance has to be paid off. So now they got you. And that's what they want. You're going to have some people like, I pay it off and I get the points and I travel fine. The majority of people, they're not able to pay off the amount. Amex used to be a charge card. The gold and the platinum cards, they used to be charge card. That means you spend money and then you have to pay it off at the end of the month. but then they switch to a credit card. I don't think people know that. You can actually turn your gold and platinum Amex cards from a charge card to a credit card that you can carry interest on. Why? Because they realize that there's no money in charge cards. There's no money in swipe fees. The money comes from interest and late fees. Look it up. You can turn your charge card into a credit card if you want to. And they keep sending me these promotions like, hey, do you want to turn your charge card into a credit card? They're hoping for me to go into debt. Finally, let's talk about billionaires, everybody's favorite subject. They always say, oh, billionaires, they don't pay their fair share. Do you know why they don't pay their fair share? It's because they play by a different set of rules. For instance, you buy a car, you pay a bunch of taxes on it. They buy a car or a private jet, they deduct it as a business expense. A guy named Mike Fernandez wanted a yacht, but yachts in the tax law are not considered a business expense because the IRS is not going to believe that you need a yacht to go from business meetings to business meetings. Private jet, yes, you can make the argument you need a private jet to see customers, whatever, but not for a yacht. So they're considered entertainment purchases, which means no tax deduction. It's not a business expense. So what this guy, Mike Fernandez, did, he started a yacht rental company, purchased a yacht, and then he just never rented out. So now it's a business. It's a business expense. So he's able to deduct the entire cost of the yacht, repairs and maintenance, gas, etc. And that company is losing money every year, which he can deduct on his taxes. And now you're thinking, well, what happens if the IRS audits him? Let them. He'll get an attorney that costs, I don't know, $100,000 a week to go and fight it in court. The attorney's probably going to win. And then he can keep his $10-20 million a year losing business. It's worth it to him. He can deduct $20 million on his taxes and he pays an attorney $100,000. And also the IRS is probably not going to audit him because they don't have the resources. Why? Because the government is taking away resources from the IRS. That's another game that they're playing. They don't want the IRS to be asking questions. They want to strip them of all the resources so they can do whatever they want. All right, so what's the takeaway here? First and foremost, you need to accept the world for what it is and stop complaining about how unfair everything is. The US tax code was not written for workers. It was written for businesses. So if you have a skill, you need to start a business and have all your expenses tax deductible. Don't complain about how unfair the country is. Use it to your advantage instead. Second, you need to invest your money. A lot of people are afraid of investing their money because they think the market is going to crash any day now. You need to go and look at the chart of the S&P 500 over the past 30 years and then tell me if investing in the stock market is unsafe. Because yes, it's going to have some small dips, but on the long enough time span, it always goes up. And that's where all the billionaires are putting their money. Don't have a bunch of cash sitting in a drawer like an amateur. You need to invest your money and make the money work for you. When you hear that Jeff Bezos is worth $100 billion, it's not in cash. It's all in stocks. If he's putting his money there, you should be putting your money there. Also, you need to look at your expenses monthly. I talk about this in every single video and no one is doing it. If you don't recognize the charge, call your credit card company and tell them, I don't recognize this charge. I would like to request a receipt from the vendor. Credit card company will contact the vendor and say, we need a receipt for this charge. Then I'll send you a receipt. You get your money back. It's called a receipt request. Also, companies constantly overcharge you and hope you don't notice. So it's important that you do this all the time. In accounting, we call this control the controllables. You control what you can control. And when something happens out of your control, you adjust accordingly.